Yeah, so I'm working on building smarter and smarter software,
Software, yes.
both with a standpoint of creating artificial general intelligence, which ultimately will equal and exceed human intelligence, and also from the standpoint of making practical products, do intelligent things
Yes.
now. So we're trying to work toward a medium-term goal of superhuman AGI, and as we get there step by step, to be doing useful things at each step of the way. Now, Hanson Robotics, for me, is one application of our OpenCog, open source AI paradigm, and in many ways it's an extremely interesting application because it combines all the aspects you need to get a human level intelligence, because you're trying to make robots that can be as much like humans as possible, right? So I mean, from some standpoints, other applications may be more interesting. So we're using OpenCog to analyze biological data, and in that context, we're trying to make the AI do things that human beings are bad at doing, right? Like integrating millions of biology data sets to understand disease. So there you're trying to make an AI go beyond human intelligence. But with Hanson Robotics, we're trying to make an AI that can do everything humans do in everyday life. And some would say that's the big bottleneck to getting AGI to be really, really smart, is just dealing with common sense understanding about the real world, which AIs currently are not very good at, which is in some ways surprising and disappointing. Like how come an AI can solve a complex math equation or analyze a huge amount of biology data or beat humans at Go, but the AI can't understand the situation inside a room where a few people are hanging out and talking?
Right. Oh, okay. So you told us that about the difference between AI and AGI.
Yeah.
You also told last year in the seminar, right? But what do you think is the biggest difference between those two things? Like
the G,
the general thing.
Yeah.
What does it work specifically? Like?
Yeah, I mean, general intelligence is a term that emerged from psychology, where it's called the G factor, and what it refers to there is the ability of a mind to think creatively and appropriately and solve problems in any context, right? So with human beings, you could say there's sort of mathematical intelligence, there's verbal intelligence, there's musical intelligence, there's physical intelligence. The idea with the G factor is there's some common core to all these, some ability to be intelligent in all different ways and all different domains. And right now with AIs, most of the success we've seen has been achieved by using AIs to do very, very specific types of things. Like AlphaGo is really good at playing Go.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't play chess.
Right.
It can't juggle, and it can't compose music. Right? The AI inside the self-driving car can drive a car, and it can't play Go or write a poem or even walk down the street. Right. So these AIs are much, much more specialized than any human is. On the other hand, in principle, we could make AIs that are much more general purpose than any human is. And ultimately, that's where we need to go if we want AIs to be able to do every human job and to solve science problems that are baffling human scientists right now. You need an AI with a very strong G factor, a high level of general intelligence. Now, the open question, which different researchers don't agree on, is can you get to powerful AGI by building a bunch of different narrow AIs and hooking them together, or by taking a narrow AI and gradually making it more and more general, or is AGI qualitatively different than the approach you need to make an AI solve a very narrow problem? Like, are there sort of specific algorithms and structures that you need to make a general intelligence that you don't necessarily need to make an AlphaGo or a self-driving car or an IBM Watson or another specialized AI system? Obviously, my line of thinking is that AGI is to some extent a different problem than narrow AI, where some researchers think you can make a bunch of narrow AIs, gradually broaden them, and then you'll get to an AGI.
Okay. So, third question is, like, it seems like Hanson Robotics seems to make a lot of humanoid AI robots.
Yes.
But is there any particular reason why Hanson Robotics are making the humanoid robot?
They're cool.
Cool, just cool. Okay.
I think actually there's a few different reasons for making humanoid robots. So the first reason is that they're cool. They're aesthetic. They're fun, and that's a perfectly good reason. They're works of art, right?
Right.
And David Hanson, among other things, is a great artist. Another reason is commercial. People want to buy them, and for various reasons. I mean, they want to buy them as toys to play with. They want to buy them to greet people in the store. They want to buy them to take care of the elderly. And, you know, it may be that your 95-year-old grandma would rather be cared for by a robot that can look her in the eye and smile than by a robot with a metallic and non-expressive face. So there's a commercial market for them. The third reason, which I think is the most interesting reason, is the idea that to create AGIs that share human values, it's not sufficient just to tell an AGI what's good versus bad, or to give it some expert rules for good versus bad. Human values are sort of intangible and complex and subjective. So to get an AGI to understand human values, you need the AGI to enter into a sort of shared mental space with people, so it can absorb the tacit and implicit aspects of human values. And to do that, sharing experience with people, looking someone in the eye, smiling when they smile at you, all this helps get into a shared mental space with people, so the AI can absorb human values in this sort of tacit and implicit way. And David Hanson strongly believes like this is the best way to get the essence of human values into an AI, and that's a large part of his motivation for going in this direction. For myself, I'm less convinced that's the only way to get human values into an AGI, but I think it's quite interesting, and it certainly is one avenue that's important to explore. But certainly the reason is for interacting with people. I mean, if your goal is just to create AGIs that are smart, the AI doesn't need a human-like body. It can be on the internet. It can control bodies in space and under the ocean, and all sorts of different bodies, and port itself among different bodies as it wishes, right?
I want to know how much this industry, like AI industry or AGI industry, have developed worldwide. How is it developed in this century? Like, this time?
The AI industry obviously is growing exponentially. I don't know how many billions of dollars it is right now, but it's certainly a hell of a lot bigger than it was 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. One salient point is that it's becoming difficult to say where AI leaves off and other disciplines like advanced computer science or high-performance computing begins. I mean, AI is sort of seeping into the whole computing world in a complex way. So you have all these companies making deep learning-based chips. I've been talking to a couple big tech companies about making OpenCog chips and specialized parallel hardware for our OpenCog AI. So when is it AI? When is it advanced algorithms? When is computer vision AI? When is hardware development oriented toward AI versus something else? I mean, in the end, everything is going to become AI,
Right,
and we're getting there. We're getting there step by step. But it's incredible what the difference is, though. I mean, when I started my career
Right.
3 decades ago,
3 decades.
AI was like a little corner. I got my PhD in 1989.
Oh,
which
really?
is 28 years ago. I mean, then AI was like a little corner of an academic research field, and there were a few companies doing things in AI, but it was a quite small and specialized
Right.
pursuit. Whereas now,
All over the-
major corporations are citing AI as a priority and putting large portions of their budget to AI-related projects. So qualitatively, the shift is tremendous.
Right. So now I think I should talk about Korea. Like
Okay.
you actually worked with Young-suk Park,
Yeah.
Professor Park. I guess you know about Korea's like industry a little bit about
Somewhat,
AI industry.
yeah.
So how advanced do you think Korea's artificial AI intelligence has developed compared to other countries? Recently at the SK, SK,
Yeah.
that company made the AI named Nugu, and it's very similar as Siri in the Apple, but you guys made humanoid AI robots, and I guess it's like the gap between it is like too big.
Oh,
so.
Samsung bought Viv, which is another
Viv, right.
another chat system. I think that the AI field historically was developed number one in US and in Japan and Germany secondarily, and I would say in terms of fundamental AI research innovation, I mean the US, Europe, Canada, and Japan still are the greatest source of like basic AI innovations. On the other hand, in terms of rolling out AI technology in applications, that's happening everywhere now, right? It's happening in China and Korea as well as the other places I cited. It's happening in Russia, and I think Korean companies and Korean universities, they're certainly as good as anyone else at taking AI algorithms and putting them to practical use. I think in the next 5, 10, 20 years, we'll start to see AI innovations pop up in Korea, China, and the Middle East, Africa, like everywhere. I mean, just like now, computing is being innovated everywhere. I do think there's certain advantages the U.S. has in terms of its overall tech ecosystem. It will be interesting to see how Korea addresses those. I think in Korea the university system is quite strong, and you have very strong academics, and of course you have big companies with world-class R&D labs. I mean, Samsung and LG, SK, many other big companies. On the other hand, I still think so far the U.S. is more willing to take technology risks on weird new innovations. Like if you're a young guy just graduated college and you want to get funding to do something that's never been done before anywhere on the planet, in the U.S. it's a little easier to find some seed investor to bankroll you.
Right.
I think
I heard about it. Yeah.
In Korea, if you go to investors and say, I want to do something new that no one ever did before, investors are more likely to be skeptical and say, well, if it's such a good idea, why didn't someone in Silicon Valley or London do it? It's easier to get investment for something that was already done somewhere else and to scale up manufacturing or localize it to Korean language or something. So I think somehow there should be a culture shift where the Korean investment community is more willing to invest in crazy new, untested ideas come up with by young Korean people, and that culture shift. When that will happen, I don't know. I mean, it may be when your generation is the ones doing the investing, or it might be sooner, right? Because that really comes down to the culture of angel investors, VCs, big companies, and how they interact with universities. I think there's also cultural differences among young people in different countries. Like in U.S., it's common for young guys who just graduated college to, say, spend 2 or 3 years, like live in their car, live in their parents' basement or something, and just hack on code for a few years without making any money. And from what I see in Asian cultures,
it doesn't, right?
That's harder to do because your parents will get mad at you, or your girlfriend's parents will get mad at you, or something. It's harder to do. There's more pressure to hurry up and get a real job, right? And that's, again, it's not an intellectual issue. That's sort of a social and cultural issue, right? And how quickly these things can change. I don't know. You're better qualified to have an opinion on that than me. Right?
Like many experts in Korea are like still talking about the industry regulations. Like they always talk about the Korea's industry regulations actually stops the development of AI industry and other industry. What do you think about this kind of
I don't know anything about Korean industry regulations. I know in biology, U.S. has had a lot of frustrating regulations about stem cell research and genetic modification.
They have a regulation.
U.S. has a lot of regulations. For a while, Korea had many fewer, and then Korea made more, but still maybe not as many as U.S. But I know many U.S. researchers in biotech go to Honduras or Mexico to do research on humans because regulations are less there. But in AI, it's not so much of an issue. So actually, I don't know what regulations are there in Korea that make it difficult for AI and robotics. Yeah, maybe you can tell me.
Like some of the the drone industry.
Drones are that regulated in U.S. and China and kind of everywhere. Actually,
but actually, Korea's industry, the regulations more higher than other countries. There was some news.
Ethiopia drones are illegal. So, it's about as bad as you can get.
Ethiopia.
Yeah. We have an AI lab in Ethiopia.
Yeah, I heard about that. Open call, right?
Yeah. But no drones are allowed there.
Right.
Yeah. So that's even worse. Yeah, I mean, I think that is going to be a problem everywhere, actually. I mean, probably the only reason there's not strong regulations on drones in the U.S. is the U.S. is very disorganized. It's not clear whose job it is to regulate drones. Is it federal government, the town, the state, or what? But that's I think Korea will solve that problem. I mean, I think they'll make rules on drones that let people experiment with them and sell them. So.
Yeah, it seems like Hong Kong Science Park here is giving a good influence to the startup companies and other developing countries. But what do you think? Is there anything else that needs to be changed? While researching about the AI industry and working about AI industry, what do you think should be changed?
I mean, the AI industry is complex and it's evolving rapidly. I think there's a role for governments and for high net worth individuals and foundations in funding research on general intelligence and in funding research that's open and transparent in its products. So I think companies are going to do a great job of developing AI to serve particular applications, but on the other hand, it's arguable the creation of human-level thinking machines is so important to the human race as a whole, you don't necessarily want it owned by any particular company. I mean, a company has the sort of legal and moral obligation to act to maximize shareholder value, right? Now, do you want the world's first thinking machines to be created with the goal of maximizing shareholder value for the shareholders of some company, or do you want the first thinking machines developed for the good of all humanity and all sentient beings? Yeah. So, in that sense, really, it's the responsibility of government or of philanthropists to make sure that general intelligence research and development is done for the common good,
ethically.
Yeah, and that's a significant issue now. I mean, a company like Google or Baidu, now these are run by good people who have good hearts and ethical mindsets. Nevertheless, their goal ultimately is to deliver value for their shareholders, right? So Google has brilliant AI. Mostly, what do they want that AI to do? Well, according to their business model, they want to figure out what you want to buy and figure out how to convince you to click on ads, right? And I mean, that's not exactly evil. On the other hand, do you want the first superhuman AI to have a prime directive of how to make people click on more ads, right? I mean, of course, that's an oversimplification because Google, they're doing a lot of other things. They have Project Calico, which is aimed at figuring out how to prolong human life. But yeah, nevertheless, I think, I mean, the capitalist system is good and it's generating a lot of value, but there's a big role for the public sector in making sure that AI is serving everyone's good. And I think Korea has actually a long tradition of the government trying to drive innovation for the public good. I mean, Samsung was created by the government a long time ago, right? So I mean, in that sense, the Korean government is probably ahead of most governments. Like the Korean government is thinking pretty hard about how to direct funding toward AI development in a positive way.
Okay, this is the last question. What do you want to develop forward as a general manager in various fields, including a chief scientist of Hanson Robotics?
My main goal in my AI career is to get general intelligence developed, to do it quickly, to make it as smart as possible and to benefit everybody, including humans and the AGIs that we're going to bring into being. And for Hanson Robotics, we're trying to work toward that goal while also delivering shareholder value and creating robots that a lot of people will buy, right? So, I mean, in the Hanson Robotics context, we've got human-scale robots, and we have smaller entertainment and education robots. And the smaller robots we're starting to sell this year already are the little Einstein robot. And another one later on, which will be together with Disney.
Disney?
Yeah, it would be a Disney character powered by Hanson Robotics.
Hanson Robotics.
Yeah. And the human-scale robots we're selling now on a limited basis, and we'll be going into mass manufacture probably next year. So we want to see millions of these toy-scale and human-scale robots rolled out everywhere, helping people, entertaining people, and learning from people. Because the more robots you have out there talking to people, the more learning each robot is doing. And that learning goes into our AI mind cloud. So what every robot learns helps our overall AI mind get smarter, and then helps every robot to become smarter. And then the smarter the robots get, the better they deliver services to people, the more people will want to buy them, right? So if all goes well, there's a sort of virtuous cycle between making robots go out there and learn more, that then become smarter, so more people will want to buy them, and then hopefully, as well as learning how to be smart, the robots are learning what it means to be human, and they're absorbing human values. And the key there is having a hardware platform that lets the robots be emotionally expressive and to pick up what humans mean from their tone of voice and the look on their face, and then having the OpenCog AGI engine in the cloud and in a simpler form on the robot that can help the robots figure out what to do and what to say that's appropriate in the application context.